Hello, everyone watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. This is just where we delve into people who are influential in the market and have something good to say, basically, about the mortgage and the lending market. So today I've got Emma Ross from Ross Commercial Finance. Thanks for joining me, Emma.
Hi.
Hello. If we could just start with, I've really wanted to get you on. We've had this conversation before as to why. I think it's really interesting to see your journey, and it'd be good to get you on later on as you see your business grow as well. But we'll just start with, just for people that don't know you, tell us about your kind of financial services journey and what's got you to Ross Commercial Finance now.
So I started off in just general banking with HSBC, just picking up the phone, doing balances kind of thing, and just progressed went into outbound sales, and then I went into a project team. And then I went into doing residential mortgages, which I'd done for 3 years. And then we set up the commercial centre in Glasgow. So it started out, there was a team of, I think it was like 8 of us. And by the time we left, it was up to about 70 or round about that anyway. I looked after London South East with businesses with turnover up to 40 million. And then from there went on to work for another broker firm where I worked for nearly 4 years there, where I learned, I think when you're at the bank, you think you know a lot, and then you become a broker and you realise you knew nothing. So I would say with my time at my previous employer, I learned so much. I feel like if you were to see my brain when it started, if I could describe it, I think it was this size, and when I left, I feel like it was a massive brain now, but I feel like the amount of knowledge I gained was unbelievable. So,
But you still have to be able to pick that up, though, right? Not everyone just comes out of the bank and is so successful in brokerage position because, like you say, I think you have such a way of doing stuff at the bank. Then when you become a broker and you realise you have to kind of work outside the box a little bit, it's tricky for some people, right?
It's definitely tricky. What I would say my biggest issue was I was at HSBC, who only do commercial owner occupied mortgages. So say if you'd came from like an RBS or a Lloyd's or something that maybe do a wee bit more than just, like, we done no commercial investment, we done no resi buy to lets, we done no bridging, no development. It was pretty much owner occupied. That was it.
Yeah.
Which is probably actually one of the hardest to do because you've got to look over all the accounts and work at the EBITDA. So out of them all, it was a good starting point. But I would say that it was a very much an eye opener. Like, from going from somewhere where you're pretty much top of, like, cream of the crop clients that you know are going to kind of get accepted, to people coming to you that have got like adverse credit, no background income, like all these weird and wonderful, and you can still find a place for it, like first time buyer, first time landlord with bad credit, and you're still like, oh yeah, I can help place you. It's just it's a very different world.
Did that feel strange, actually, just in regards to that, having to get those people that you just couldn't work with before? Do you know, was that strange that you could suddenly help those?
It wasn't strange, it was exciting. Like, being able to say
Strange, probably the wrong word.
Yeah, like, I would say it was just so good because there were so many times at HSBC where you knew it was a really good business, but it just didn't fit what they liked or what their policy was. So being able to speak to the kind of clients where you know that you can really help their business, there's just different options available for them. It was great.
Oh, nice. So, and obviously, then you've taken the step. I interrupted your work history, but you've taken the step now to work for yourself. How's that going?
Really good, better than I expected. I don't know why, but I knew it would go well because of my drive and my determination to, which I think is the main thing that makes you successful. But I just didn't realise it would go so well. So I couldn't be happier, to be honest, with how it's going.
This is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because people, it's kind of sometimes a bit of a slow burner when people set off, and I know you've had a great start and that kind of thing, but and this kind of has to delve into a bit of what makes you great, so it always makes people uncomfortable. But what's the difference maker? Why is it that? Because lots of people are driven, right? There's lots of people that can, or say they're driven. What do you think the difference maker is, that you've come out the blocks and you've been able to kind of pick up those relationships and that kind of thing? Even working for someone previously, you went up through the ranks quite quickly in regards to how much business you're writing. What do you think makes you a little bit different?
I do know that people do have drive, but I think a lot of people tell themselves they've got drive or tell others they've got drive, but do they really have it? And I do
Yeah,
think that's massive. Like, I probably, which I don't think is something to be proud of, but I'm obsessed, which is maybe a wee bit different. So I will, the first thing I think about, which probably makes me sound like quite a bad mum, but I'm not, I'm actually a good mum. But the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning is business. Like, I'm sometimes working till 3 o'clock in the morning and I still know that's nothing. People talk about work-life balance, all that. And I do know that that will come, but I have very much like set my expectations that the first 2 years I will be
yeah.
working maybe 100-hour weeks, etc. And I'm
I
okay
love
with
that.
that. Like
I
I'm still young, like, and I feel like I've got, if I can put the next 5 years into everything I can while still being there as a mum for my kids as well, but everything I can into the business, then hopefully in 5 years time I can be 40 and take a bit of a back seat, which would be unreal at my age to be able to
yeah,
have,
yeah.
like, be able to do that. And by that time the kids will be older, we'll be able to like go holidays that I'll actually remember and stuff as well. So I think
I
I'm
love that.
happy to take the short term loss.
The reason I love it is because we speak to so many people about work-life balance and that kind of thing, and actually, what they don't realise is it's really fucking hard to run to run a business and just to keep going and keeping everyone motivated. Once you start employing people as well, I think people miss out on that. Like the reason to go off on your own isn't a work-life balance. I don't think. I think you just end up with a really crap boss with don't get any holiday pay, right? That's the crux of it. But actually, the reason that you've done it is because you want to go out and do more for your customers, and that obsession thing, by the way, is absolutely brilliant. Like, I think you have to be to be like the top end of your game. I think you have to be a bit obsessed, and
I
some
don't
people
know what,
it's
see,
a
that
bit of a dirty
obsessed thing
word.
though. That
Go on,
is it,
sorry.
because I even think of it back to my like HSBC days. Like, so I was in, see, even when I was in the sales team selling, remember the accounts that you pay for? Like, I sold them for
Yeah,
like
yeah,
years, and even at that, I always felt like I had to be like number one at that. Like, it was like nothing really in the grand scheme of it, but I was always, and even when I went on to commercial, I always wanted to be the top rating, and I
yeah,
would just care so much about it that I would do like all, like, if it meant working the extra hours, if it meant I had done a wee bit extra, like, because when you're at HSBC you done a lot for like additional points or whatever it was to get, which might
yeah,
be
yeah.
like you're helping the community and stuff. I would always do whatever I could to be the best I could be, and I think it's like the same in this. Like, as much as I'm driven by money, which I am, I'm also very much driven by being the best I can be in my game
Yeah.
and going
I
out
think the
my way
money
to
thing is
achieve
that
that.
the money side of things is a result, right? You can't be obsessed by the money without giving the drive and being really good at what you do.
Yeah.
It's like trying to set a money goal is very difficult. But what you can do is set a goal of how many people you help and how many customers you've worked on and that kind of thing, and the money as a result. I think it's really hard to. I mean, we're all driven by money, right? We wouldn't do our jobs for free, but it's not a direct result of why you're so good.
I would definitely agree. Like, I even when I was at HSBC, I even remember I would have overperformed for somebody giving me a card to say thank you. Like it didn't need to be that somebody gave me a 2 grand bonus. It's appreciation was massive for me.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be money value. It's just me knowing in myself that I've done well and that I was appreciated for doing well.
Good. So, what's obviously you've got the obsession of the working hard, right? But so that is the one thing that everyone can do. Everyone can work a bit harder. But I mean, I kind of I know-ish sort of the numbers that you write, which is phenomenal. Do you think there's something? Do you get kind of repeat customer and that kind of thing? Because it's all brand new at the moment. Is it? It's just such a big disparity between people who think they're good and people who are doing really well. I'd love to. I'd love to know what else it is that fills that gap.
So a lot of my clients come from introducers, so whether it's accountants, solicitors, residential mortgage brokers, property people, like a lot of them, so they are more my repeat customers.
Yeah.
So I'll pay them for the introductions that they pass me, so they'll continue coming back. I do have a lot of repeat clients as well, but every single time I do a repeat client, they came from an introducer. That introducer gets paid as well, so it's a real
Oh,
good
got you.
stream of income for the introducers. I do think once I spoke to a client, I'm quite good at cementing that relationship. So because I won't go to my bed at night without answering an email, people will. honestly guarantee you anyone that's speaking about me will say we'll get an email from him at like 2 o'clock in the morning. We'll get, and still probably not something to be boast of, but it is true. I won't go to my bed without answering all my emails. So I think that having that like consistent like contact with clients is really, really important to get them to come back because they know you're always on top of it.
You said then it's not something to be proud of. Like I think it is. I think we've just had this weird thing now where we're not allowed to talk about how hard we have to hustle to make
I know.
to do really
I
well.
do
It's
agree
become
with
like
that.
a
I feel
secret
like,
we all do. Like working hard is a secret, and it means you can't be a good mom or whatever. You know, and it's bullshit. You can work really
that is
hard
so
and do
true.
everything. Yeah, don't
I do
mention to anyone
genuinely feel
that
like
you
that. I
get
feel
up
like
early or anything like that.
I know, but I do feel like if I talk to people and I say that like always working till 3 o'clock in the morning, like I'm so judged for it. I'm like, oh, like I just won't tell people I just secretly work till 3 in the morning.
But it used to be a bit of a badge of honor, and now it looks at like you're expecting burnout. But if you're doing something you love, and the first few years of business are really hard, right? So you're doing something you love, you have to put in a lot of hours.
Yeah,
But you don't tend to get the burnout if you're passionate about what you're doing. I mean, maybe that's not fair to people who have seen that. But what do you know what I mean? Like if I'm doing my top energy stuff like this or going to see clients, I could do it 24 hours a day. I don't lose energy. Once you've got to do the crap stuff, I think that's when you really start to burn out. And there's extra
yeah.
bits that you don't, that aren't in your flow, if you like. But how do you cope with those long hours and that side of things? Do you ever feel like you have that like that rundown, or you just at it at the moment on it?
Not yet, but I think there is a massive part of adrenaline in everything I do. Like whether it's getting a deal approved, a valuation comes back as we expected, which is obviously a challenge. The getting it past legals, getting the drawdown, all these little stages within each process, it's like a proper adrenaline rush. And like, see,
Yeah.
get to phone the client, be like, oh yes, your valuation come back as expected, or oh yes, that's your deal approved. Like they keep me ticking along without ever feeling like even. I get to
Yeah.
my bed at night and I've done all my work and it's maybe like 12 o'clock at night and I'm still like, I still have excitement. Now, whether that will last like forever is like probably
Well, do
not
you
going
know
to happen,
we
but
when we talk about being in flow of our energy and that kind of thing, it's a genuine thing. It's the flow of chemicals going into your brain, right? So if you're doing great stuff that you love doing all day, that is that flow that keeps your mind going. That's what you just call it adrenaline. Like there's 7 different chemicals flowing through your mind. That is when you're in your flow. It's a genuine thing of like if you can keep doing the stuff that you love all day, like you said, the different excitement parts of the process. That is how you stay in that energy space, and that is how you keep motivated. It's just the downtime stuff, isn't
yeah.
it? It's the stuff that isn't making you money or isn't pleasing a customer. They're the bits that are energy sapping.
Yeah, well, even like I still get to like I probably make myself sound like all I do is work. Like I still get to like I go watch my kids' football every weekend. Like I still go out with my pals for a drink. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
still have a
yeah,
normal life. Like I just like my number one like priority. The now is just seeing the business like get to a stage that it's stable that I can take a wee bit more of a back seat. But
yeah, yeah,
um I love it so much that I can't really imagine in any short time scale feeling like I want to do that anyway. I hopefully
yeah.
just be able to bring other people in with me that can join me to kind of
That's why you'll be a good business
maybe
owner.
allow me
That's
to go
why
on
you
holiday.
you'll yeah. That's the only difference later on. But the passion that you show now is that leadership quality that people are going to see later. You lead by work ethic, right? So you've got that phenomenon. And people, and obviously it's in recruitment, so I know a little bit about that sort of things. But people want to employ people for the wrong reasons, and actually, the fact that you're really passionate about it, and then you can pass that passion on to someone else. That's a genuine reason for building a business, not just because you want to work less.
Yeah.
Because what you soon discover is that when you're building a business, you don't get that time off. You don't get those holidays where you don't. It's the hard work and drive that really make the difference. I don't think that's why, like I said before, that's why I wanted to get you on because you see it and I hear it in you when I speak to you, and yet there we speak to so many people who are looking to set up for an easier life.
Well, definitely not an easier life, that's for sure. I think the main thing with me for recruitment, which is something that is very much on the cards, is all about culture. So for to me, the main thing that I want is, and I know it's probably a word that's thrown about quite a lot just now as well, but it is so important. Like I want to have a place where people feel valued, respected, I want to like I feel like as a woman in finance I've probably had a few extra battles that I've had to face and I feel like I don't want anyone to be judged for anything really like and that it's to me, it's not about experience at all. I feel like I can train people, like, and knowledge. I just can't treat people to be have good morals. I can't train people to be nice people or to be like
Yeah, yeah.
really friendly or driven. I feel like you've even got them or you don't. Knowledge I can
Yeah, yeah, they're
definitely
behavioural
help people
traits, and you
with.
can't get rid of them. They're behavioural traits.
Yeah,
People don't change, right? So if you speak to someone, they go, "Oh, they're a bit like this in their old job, but they won't be like it again." They will. Because we test on
definitely.
behaviours, and they are deep set in you. And you, like you say, you can teach someone a product matrix, and you can teach someone how to talk to a customer, but you can't teach them the will. I also think you've
Yeah.
missed one. Your hard work is part of your culture. People seem to think culture is like it's because we all drink together and we are, no one leaves and that kind of thing. Work ethic is the number one point of culture, because what it means is you don't have to train anyone to work hard when they come to work for you, because they see how you do it and the next person does it, and leadership rolls up like that. So 100% like being valued and respected and that kind of thing. But I think we seem to miss off the fact that the main drive that drives our culture is our work ethic.
Yeah.
How we do business, as well as how hard we work at it. So you touched on women in finance. Then it's very difficult for me to have this conversation, because I'm very blessed in the sense that most of the people I speak to are me. They're middle-aged men trying to build businesses. So I've got this I'm never going to be in a better era, if you like. But I know it's a struggle. And actually, one of my colleagues, Nads, is on the Lenders Live as we're recording this, so I can't listen to it. But she's talking about women in finance and kind of the struggles. Again, it's not a subject that I can really deeply add any value to, because it's never been an issue, obviously. But talk to me about that. Talk to me about how there's potentially been some barriers, and whether we're doing enough to break them down.
I just think that it's about having representation in every aspect. It doesn't need to necessarily just be women in finance, but it can be like age, it can be ethnicity. I think every single like different category should be represented. And I just feel like when I go into a room, it's mainly potentially me, two other girls, to maybe like 50 to 70 men a lot of the times, like, and it can feel really intimidating. Like, I don't know what it is, I've got this thing about men. My husband's bald as well, so please don't think I'm taking it being offensive here, right? But I feel like I always have the thing with a bald men with a suit on, and it's always a grey suit, and it makes me feel intimidated, and I don't know why. Like,
Just so you know, I don't own any grey suits. So if you're intimidated by bold men in grey blue suits, then I've got issues. But I, don't,
I
I know what
don't
you mean. That
honestly know
old
what it
school. It's
is.
the old school of
Uh-huh.
it.
Like, and I feel
Yeah, but you're
like it
smashing
makes.
it. So surely, I think it's a bit of a superpower for you as well, because right or wrongly, everyone we speak to would much rather have a higher female headcount, because they know that you cover. I think the difference in a lot of competitive business men, if you like, is that they miss the empathy side of things, which is really important in our business, and same as yours. I think you can have really competitive women who also have the traits of a good salesperson in that respect and empathy side of things. So people do see it. I just don't know where the disconnect is. But I do
My
think it's changing a
personal
little bit.
my personal opinion is, and this is just with my own like friend group, is a lot of my friends just don't like, they're happy to stay at home for 2 days a week, 3 days a week, like they are,
Yeah,
and that's totally fine as well. They're totally entitled. Like, one of my friends is one of the most clever girls I've ever met. She could probably be on about 150 grand, like basic salary, but she doesn't
yeah,
want to. She's just got no need, no want to do it, which is totally fine. I just don't
yeah.
get that at all. I would be like jumping all
No,
over it
no.
if I was her. But I
But
think,
I
like,
don't.
from
So
my
drive
experience,
isn't gender specific, is it? But it is relevant to the life that you're living. If you like,
yeah,
it, like with you've got kids and that kind of thing. It is things do change, don't they? Where perhaps that's always been taken into account in the past. The fact that women do have to generally take the time off with the children and that kind of thing. So I don't think it affects drive. No, it just affects it's just the way your life is.
yeah. I think that for me, I found it a wee bit more difficult because I feel like I always had to prove myself more. So like, there's been times where like I got nominated for like one of the awards, and something that was said to me like was basically saying that I only got it because I was the only woman that was like
Well, you can't win,
nominated.
can you? You're a really
No,
driven woman, and then you get it because you're a woman. You can't.
I know,
Like
and I know
that's a no-win situation.
it really did upset me because I know for a fact I deserved it. It's different. See, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, wait a minute, like, how did I even get that? Which,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there can be scenarios that does happen, but this was not the case. Like, I literally, like, worked so hard and I just feel like I did deserve it
Yeah,
and
but
it
do you know what?
wasn't to
The
do.
people that have got that opinion, fuck them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's so irrelevant because they haven't been voted for, right? They haven't got it, and they
yeah.
probably you can guarantee these are also guys that aren't right in the same business as you, aren't as driven as you. But it's an excuse thing for someone to go. Well, of course I didn't win that because I'm not a woman or I'm not a different race or whatever it is. Like it's bullshit.
Somebody told me
It's nice crutch for
I
people to
was a
sort of.
tick box because I was from
Oh,
Scotland. I was a female and I had tattoos. It made me a tick box. I was like, oh my goodness,
nothing to do
like,
with the amount of business you write and the
I know.
huge amount
Oh,
of business that.
I know.
But you must get it's like I said, being a female is also a bit of a superpower, right? You've got the traits that are right to be a good salesperson. So you have to just kind of surely block out that other side of the nonsense where
Yeah.
you've got men who, it's a male-dominated market, isn't it? I mean, our industry is full of men. We've got 90% female workforce, and that wasn't intentional. It's just finding people who are competitive and driven, and
Yeah.
have respect and empathy for people, is is more of a female trait. I think like recruitment, a bit like mortgages, was full of like sharky blokes, just trying to make a quick buck. And actually, relationship management and empathy and long-term goals and not being that short-term gratification, I think, has suited the ladies that have worked with us. So it's very similar in financial services. So let's move on. Oh, out of interest, I say let's move on. So Women in Financial Services Awards. We have this talk because obviously lots of females in the office. We have these conversations, and I speak to females women who have been in the industry a long time don't like it because they had to force their way up through all of the biases and that kind of thing, and they feel like, well, I'm just great. Like for instance, I'm a great BDM or I'm a great manager. I don't know if it's relevant for female or not. Where do you sit on the female awards, separating them from the blokes?
Never actually thought about it, to be honest. But I wouldn't be, if I get nominated for one, I'd be delighted. I
But
do
you see
get
what I
where you're
mean? Because
coming from. Yeah,
you're not a great. He's not a female CEO. You're a great CEO. Like I
yeah.
don't. It's a tricky one, but then at the same time, it kind of has to be acknowledged that you haven't had the same. It hasn't been as easy for you either, so it's a tricky one,
I
and
do
obviously
get
not
it
for me
because
to
I
say
do
because I'm
think
male.
there is. I do think that there is a case of that across like lots of different things. Like it might be like certain awards that would be for like, I don't know. I can't think of any in particular, but there's awards that I've seen before and I thought surely that should just be the best in general. It doesn't need to be that you're a certain
Yeah,
race or a certain gender or a certain to win that. You're neither the
yeah, it's
best or you're
strange.
not. And if you had one that was like male only awards, would that be fair? Probably not. So I do think that there needs to, if we want equality, it should be equality in everything. Like I'm very much like it's the best person for the job. Now I'm not saying that if you've got a workforce full of males that's wrong. If they are the best person for the job, then I think that is fair enough. I think where the inequality comes is where you've got a man and a woman that are equally as good for a job and the man starts a higher salary or the man gets a job over the woman but they're equally as good. Whereas if a man and a woman go for a job and
Yeah.
the man is better, I do think that the man should get the job. Like I think that it is to do with the best person. Like so a good example is my husband used to work as a postman and it's quite an intensive labour job. Like they're out in all weathers, they've got really heavy bags, and they had like tick boxes they needed to fill. So there would be like a strong man comes with the job against like there was this one woman who was telling me that it was like a size 6, like she looked quite frail, like and he thought she's not going to be able to
Carry
carry
that bag.
this male, but they had to give her the job and understand like in scenarios you've got to build a like diverse workforce and I understand all that, but I actually then think was she the best person for that job or
Yeah.
like
So there is that other thing. For us, it's not. Yeah, exactly. If it's labour, it's very different, right? There's clear differences between men and women. I do think, like for us, I think we need more men now because we don't want to narrow down our diverse thinking. And I think the benefit of having men, women, all different races, ages, genders, is that you get an incredible amount across. You don't have that hive thinking that we used to. Like if you're surrounded, if you're a middle-aged white straight man, and you're surrounded by the middle-aged straight white men, that's kind of you're like a hive thinking. Everyone agrees. You're all yes men. Like that's a great idea. That's a great idea. No one ever thinks about anything different. It stays the same. So I think the benefit of having people from different backgrounds is that you just get that creative thinking, which is what makes you improve, right? That's what makes you keeps you creative.
Well, even like my husband, like he's got like a degree in, I should know, some sort of sports thing, right? I can't remember what it's called, but he's got some sort of degree, right? He's got like football coaching, football scouting, but all this
background. He's got the coolest job in the world as well, hasn't he?
He does a really cool job. But he, like, when he was applying for like normal jobs, like he wasn't getting through because he was like a white male, and he has so much qualities. And there was a running joke. We were like, maybe if you ticked one of the boxes, then you might get through, like, because like I do feel as well that you can be like discriminating now for being a white male, like going for jobs as well. So I am all about
we won't moan about that, by the way. I'm not moaning about that.
But I do think there is an
element. We've had it good for a long time.
I know, and I do think that is. But I also am very aware that like I do think I kind of bang the drum about female empowerment and but I also am very aware of the other side of it. Like I'm not one of these like burn your bra kind of women. Like I'm very aware of like what they're both sides of the coin are, and I just want equality across the board, like rather than any one gender or anything being better.
That makes sense. But that is empowerment, right? Equality is empowerment. That's the whole. That's the whole crux of it. So let's move into you, kind of how you've got yourself out there. I know you use introducers and you're good on social media. Was the social media thing like a conscious? Because I think that's how we met. Realistically, would have been. You're miles away. I think I would have bumped into you. But yeah, you're very big on social media, and was that a conscious marketing effort? Have you always been quite good at it, quite naturally good at getting yourself out there and getting your face out there?
Yeah. So before I started, sorry, 2 seconds.
It's all right. I'll edit out you choking.
It's because I had a one of these before, and I think a bit of it was stuck in my throat. Sorry. Yeah, so before I started with my previous employer, I was really loved Instagram, so I had quite a decent following on that to start with, so that probably helped me a wee bit. And then I'm quite like an arty, crafty type person. So see how Canva and apps like that, I really enjoy doing that sort of stuff. So I would just lie in my bed, and I wasn't doing it because I felt like I was working. I actually loved making wee pictures and all that stuff. So that kind of helped me to just enjoy doing it. I actually want to be a lot better on my social media. I used to be way more on top of it than I am now. And I really want to get better with things like TikTok, YouTube, all that sort of stuff that I feel like I'm really missing the market on. I just that's one thing I really need to find time.
It's hours in the day though. I know we shouldn't use time as an excuse because it's actually part of our business. Like when I got a new person working with me recently, Nadia, she said with her old job, it was just an add-on, right? It's just something you had to do on top. She said, but here it's part of my job. Yeah. So we do have to change that mindset with social media, don't we? It's not just a little bit of it's a nicety. It's literally how we make 90% of our clients coming inbound is from our social media. Yeah. So it seems crazy that we just say, it's a nice to have. But again, with you at the moment, obviously, one man banding it, you're busy. If you're working until 12, 2 o'clock in the morning, etc., doing pictures on Canva and stuff it's just an added task. Yeah. But I suppose that's how you grow, right? You know where you need to go next with what needs to be taken off your plate.
Well, it's definitely one. So I've got somebody that's doing a wee bit of marketing for me now, on a kind of ad hoc basis, which is great. But it's definitely the angle that I really want to focus on.
Yeah, I think that's going to be where most of our business comes from in the future. Doesn't matter whether you're property developers or accountants, whatever, your introducers, they hang out online, don't they?
Definitely.
We're not all in the same networking events. It's
and networking events, I don't actually know how much I even get from them. I've just never talked about anything to do with business and just talked about football or bands and stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that's the big thing, though. I think if I go into a meeting and don't talk about recruitment, I can pretty much guarantee that they'll become a client. If you go in and sell yourself, like bang, because people want to buy from you because they like you, right? So you
Definitely.
talk about anything else other than the thing that we actually do.
Anything else rather than business.
We do kind of make there's an ongoing joke in the office about that I don't talk about recruitment. And I suppose I should, because they're like, some people don't even know what you do. They think you're like, oh, that guy that just does something about mortgages. I'm like, oh, no, actually, I'm working recruitment. But I do think it's important, though. I do think it's important just to get in front of
Yeah.
people, without hammering away at your products and service. How do you? Because obviously, I know how I can add value. Obviously, things like this in my side of the business. How do you add value to your customers outside of doing the actual deal for them? What can you do that's kind
That
of the
was
extra?
actually my question on my social media this morning. So on my LinkedIn, that was like my question, or my wee Canva was, does your broker add value? So
Oh,
yeah, there
really?
we go. Um,
I would say I saw that.
you didn't see it. Yeah, so I think for me personally, it is all about like response time. So keep them updated, etc. Also, with me, I do actually become friends with people, like, and I can't help that. But so that like my family will laugh. They're like, "You're not friends with everybody." And in my eyes, I am. Like that's why I get really.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and that's how I probably get like quite sad. See, when I think somebody's my friend, and then like I don't hear from them ages. Like I'm like, oh my goodness, I've not heard from them. And they were like, yeah, we're never friends to start with. You were just like, but yeah, to me, like everyone's my friend. So I do really.
I get like that, right? So I was taking the mick out of in the office the other day. They said your job's easy because you work with all your friends. I'm like, but they weren't friends before.
That's me.
I didn't know them. I just make friends with everyone because that's part of the job, isn't it? You get to work with people you like. That's a massive
Well, like,
bonus.
even most of the BDMs now are actual, like my pals, like we text them nearly every weekend. Like I choose to go out with them, not because they've got a task. Like I'm actually excited to hang about with them. Like so, if I had my own birthday
Yeah,
party,
yeah,
most of them would be there as my friends. So I definitely agree with you. But I think that's probably one of the like so relationship building with the clients and with the lenders, which is massive because I can go
yeah,
to a lender and speak directly with somebody that's got authority to get like a deal moving in the direction we need it to and at pace. And value added
yeah,
to the clients, I think, is a lot to do with knowledge. Like, so obviously everyone's got to start somewhere, but having that specialist commercial background and then like working on that like consistently for over 8 years, like in that sector, I know exactly what lenders to go to. I know exactly what each lender likes. I know what how to position it to a lender that will get it approved. And I think that is really, really, really important because I think sometimes people will go to and this is not me having a go at any like residential mortgage brokers, but some like
no, no,
brokers that don't touch in the specialist world will sometimes dabble in commercial, and sometimes it can really like either mess up the deal for the client or it can mess up the deal for us when it comes to us because they've already presented it to a lender a certain way,
incorrectly.
and
Yeah.
then if we then present it,
Do you know what? I'm doing part of this podcast. This won't be out for a while because I'm doing the lenders podcast at the moment, and I've asked them the same question. Have you noticed a lot of Resi brokers sort of turning their hand to it? And I think as the market got tighter last year and Resi was tough, right? I think they were trying to do it themselves rather than perhaps speak to a commercial broker or actually go through package or whatever it is. And obviously, you must have sensed that yourself, like you just said. It's a big thing where I get it, right? Because your commissions are higher, and it's more commercially awareness in the sense that you can change deals and you can make it work. But 2% of zero is still zero, isn't it? You can't get
100%.
if you can't get over the
And
line.
see the work that's involved in it is so much. I've done the residential side and it's so different. But see the amount of people that I know that did try it and then came back and said, "Oh Emma, I'm sorry I tried this but it didn't work. Could you just take them again?" And I'm like, yeah. But see to me, like so I can do asset and invoice finance, for example. But I've got a guy that I work with that me and him do a deal where I give him all my asset and invoice, he gives me all his property side, and we just split like so
Yeah,
to me, I think if I'm want to be like, if I know I'm really good at anything to do with property, business acquisitions, all that, I can focus on it. I don't touch pensions, I don't touch protection, I don't touch all these sort of things that I could look at, but I don't, because I don't want to take away my time at what I'm really good at. And then I just refer on to other people and get a
Yeah,
split. So the way that I see it with the people that refer on to me, my Resi Brokers, I see it as I'm going to pay away a very high percentage, probably the most competitive that's paid away in the market. And you literally only need to give me a
yeah,
name and a number. So to me, it's like a real no brainer.
yeah. It just makes sense, though, doesn't it? If you concentrate on the thing you're really good at, like it's too easy. It's like people ask us in recruitment because we deal with mortgages, right? That's all we do. People say, "Have you never looked at diversifying?" I'm like, but it cuts away from the thing that the one reason people come to me is because I'm knowledgeable about the market I'm in. If I'm then talking about engineers or something the next day, it just takes away the value that people, the reason people pay you, right? And
Yeah.
people, the reason people refer business to
Well,
you.
that's another thing as well. So one thing that I was very cautious of when I started is I had looked at, do I go in, because most of the time you see a commercial brokerage, you've got a residential arm to it. And I thought, do I do that because it's automatic leads that comes through, all that sort of stuff. But I took a conscious decision not to do it because most of my deals do come from residential mortgage brokers. And if I've then got a residential
You
arm,
lose those.
I'm a competitor to them then. Like I could be taking the residential mortgage details, I could be doing the protection, all that. But I took a stance on that I'll never do residential. And it means that I always will introduce it for the person that introduced it to me. So I'll say like, do you have the protection? Do you have, and I'll always pass it back. So not only am I giving them the payment for the referral, but I'm passing my protection policy back that they maybe have not went, and then maybe not have got because somebody would have maybe went to another commercial broker, etc. So I think
Yeah.
that that's really, really important to set aside that it's, you know, that if you're
And
going
was that? Did you say was that a conscious decision? That was a conscious decision from the very off. Yeah, like
right,
I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be something I'll expand into.
definitely not. I just think that I I know for a fact if it was me and I was passing to somebody else that was doing the exact same thing as I was doing, even if they're telling you, oh, we're not going to do it, you know that they've got it on their database.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's on the day, and also they've got your phone number, and it's just a. I don't believe like there are people that do that really successfully, but it just muddies the water a little bit. And if you're losing, yeah, if you're gaining X amount of resi mortgages, but you're losing X amount from your commercial stuff,
yeah.
it doesn't make commercial sense to do both.
Well, I've actually trained to do the full ready side, so I'm like fully authorised to do it. I just decided it was like I wasn't going to touch it.
Nice, and obviously, and you said the same for protection, same as anything. Your commercial broking, that's a lot.
That's it.
Is that not tempting on the asset and invoice finance and that kind of thing? Could you just go, oh, I know how to do it, oh. But
Very,
then but you got to stick to your guns, haven't you?
and the person that I refer it to is probably the person I trust the most in the full of my kind of career side, my business side, and it just would
Oh,
not
nice.
be, to me, having that kind of friendship and trust in someone's way more important than being able to make a wee bit more money.
Yeah, no, amazing. Yeah, that makes sense. So, if you could give any advice to either resi or broking type, resi or banking rather, advisors that are looking to, I was going to say looking to become competitors of yours, that you're going to give great advice. But no, genuinely, if they want to get into commercial broking, how would you suggest they start that? Because lots of people want to kind of jump in head first and I think it's going to be a quick money spinner and that kind of thing. But what advice can you give?
So I had somebody recently actually come to me and ask their resi, and they've done a couple of like maybe more complex resi, and they said like how would they do it? And my best advice was get a mentor. So either go under a company that will help you with the guidance through, or get like a really good mentor that will give you a split. So with him, I said to him, I was like, look, if you want to refer me on all your commercial deals, I'll do them with you. So I'll give him a split of everything that he refers over to me until he's ready, and then he could just go and do it himself. But it lets him gain the knowledge of how I'm doing it, what lenders I'm approaching, why I'm approaching the lenders. And then he could be doing some himself and then sending them to me and I could check them over, kind of thing. I think that's a better idea. I
Yeah,
think if you were to go straight into it, like yourself, you would drown. And see, the thing that you don't want as well is you don't want the lenders to, like, you've got to put a really good proposal in front of the lenders or they'll keep notes of, oh, their proposals are rubbish. You don't, do you know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure
yeah,
you're
yeah.
putting really.
And once you get that name, it's hard to get out of it, isn't
Definitely.
it?
So whatever you're putting in front of them, you want that to be quality information that you're going to get a straight approval for as soon as you send it over. And I think
Yeah.
that's, you don't want to tarnish your
Do you know? I
name.
think it was. I think it was Joe Aston at Aria Finance said something similar to me in regards to if someone wants to learn it, that's fine because obviously they package deals. So you're not going to lose any business by teaching someone how to do it. Eventually, there's enough business to go around, right? So you teach them at the beginning, you help them out, and then that pays dividends later on. Is from your perspective as opposed to theirs. Like there's nothing wrong with helping someone out to learn it. And they pay away to you at the beginning, and then it gets, it slowly evolves into them learning the business. You're comfortable with doing that as well, right?
Yeah, I just think in general, there, if you were to just go straight from residential to commercial, I think you would probably try it for 6 months and then you would stop. That's just my personal opinion. I think you're trying it would deals fall through all the time. You would think you're wasting your time. I think that's what would happen to most people. But I think if you've actually got somebody that's guiding you, I was
Yeah.
very lucky in my scenario where I was employed and I had somebody guiding me the full time. So that was mega beneficial. So
Yeah.
if somebody was going to do that, that would make
And you would recommend that. You would recommend that because everyone wants to jump out and do their own thing, right? But actually, putting in the hard graft, working for someone is a good standing point as well,
think
right?
if you were self-employed, you went back to employed. I think people would struggle with that because of it's such freedom. So I think if you were employed going to employed, I think that'd be fine. I think if you're self-employed going to employed, I think a lot of people would struggle with it, especially when you're employed for companies that are it's target driven technically. So you're like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
your own targets, it's somebody else's targets.
Not that self-employed shouldn't be target driven. We should all be
Our
target
own
driven.
targets most of the time, surely.
Yeah, that's good. Any other advice? I said I'll keep you for half an hour. It's been 40 minutes, so I will try and wrap up eventually. But it's genuinely interesting. It's great to hear someone just in that part of their career. We get people on here that have they're uber successful now, or lenders and that kind of thing. But actually finding someone who's just been amazing at what they do for someone else, and then slowly moving into that journey, I think it's really interesting for people to get. So lastly, any advice to someone who's looking to take that step? What would you say was the best advice that you've had, or any advice that you can give just in regards to taking that step into
Have
to owning your own
definitely
business?
have a good mentor. So I was really lucky. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say his name, but it was one of the heads from one of the banks.
Say his name.
Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed.
No, don't, you're not allowed to.
But it was one of the challenger banks and one of the heads of that, and he was so helpful to me in so many ways, and just like just I don't know, encouraged me, made me know my worth, which was probably the biggest thing for me. Like I really doubted my own worth on whether I thought I was able or I don't know where you've just got doubts and having somebody that could help show you your worth and guide you and all that sort of stuff is just invaluable. So I would say definitely try and get somebody that's in the game that can mentor you in any way, shape or form is probably the biggest thing that gave me the encouragement to know that I was doing the right thing.
Amazing, good, excellent. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your time, Emma. If anyone wants to get hold of you, what's the easiest way to speak to you?
LinkedIn's probably the easiest, or my email, but LinkedIn I'm on every single day. So
Good stuff. And all of Emma's socials will be on all of our all of the marketing gump that goes out with this. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you to everyone listening and watching on YouTube. And thank you very much, Emma. I really appreciate it. I'll speak to you soon.
thanks, guys. Cheers.